get back to work. We're on to our next challenge entitled A plus B. Vasya Pupkin just started learning Java and C#. At first, he decided to write a simple program that was supposed to sum up two small numbers. Numbers and their sum fit in a byte. But it didn't work. Vasya was too sad to find out what is wrong, help him to correct the mistake. And so, in this case, it looks like they actually kind of filled out the method for us. Normally, we're left to do that on our own. And it looks like a pretty reasonable attempt here. So, I mean, what's wrong with this? Let's just run it. Maybe this will work. And so we encounter the error on line 5 of cannot implicitly convert type int to byte. An explicit conversion exists. Are you missing a cast? So, we're saying, hey, we have this byte C variable we're going to make up, and we're just going to add the contents of A and B. What's wrong with that? So, this wasn't immediately clear to me. I don't work with the byte structure a lot. If you do want to look at that, there's information in the doc page. You definitely should know that a byte represents 8 bits. That's 8 bits of data. In this case, an unsigned integer, meaning there are no negative values. And so this would range from 0 to 255. You can imagine if you had 8 bits at your disposal, you can take 2 and raise it to the 8th power, 1 for each bit, and you'll come up with the value 256. And of course, if you start counting from 0 instead of 1, you're going to go from 0 to 255. And that's sort of the range that you have there. So one definite problem you could think of would be, what if you added 250 plus 250? That's going to easily go over the 255 max, and you're dealing with some kind of overflow issue there. That's not really specifically what we're dealing with our error, but something to keep in mind, a problem with adding bytes like that. So I took to the web and did a little searching and came across one of the most important websites that you should definitely know about, and I was led to Stack Overflow. Feel free to, you'll memorize it, but you could bookmark the website. Heck, if you program a lot, maybe it's even a good default homepage. But look at this. They had pretty much the exact question that we were wondering. If you add 2 bytes, what's the problem? Why am I not getting a byte as a result? And so this guy asked a question. And I should say Stack Forum is this large forum where users ask questions, and then lots of experts will chime in with responses below. And you vote on responses and questions that are good, to sort of raise their credibility. And if you create a user profile, you get points assigned to you based on the quality of your contributions. I will warn you, if you want to post questions on Stack Overflow, make sure you search for common answers to your problems first. Don't make Stack Overflow the first place you go and just enter the first question that comes into your mind. The users there are rough. They'll probably slap you around a bit if you do that, and they're a little bit rude. I mean, you're not going to get in trouble or anything, but it's annoying to get beat up like that. So make an honest effort, and when you really are stuck and you can't find quick answers, then yeah, by all means, post questions on here, and you'll get some very good help. And in this case, it's helpful for us to look at other people's questions and the responses that came in for it. So this guy makes a good point, right? If I add 2 bytes, why don't I get a byte back? That's the same problem we have. And he's saying, look, you have int plus int equals int, etc. for all these other types. So why is byte plus byte not equal to byte? And like I said, I mean, you got guys like John Skeet on here. You can go really far down the rabbit hole trying to understand things. We don't have to do that here, but by all means, knock yourself out if you want to know everything pretty much. So this is a pretty good answer right here, and it was voted, it appears, as the top answer. And as he explains, when you have a statement like this, which is what we have bytes c equals a plus b. They just have different variable names. He's saying it actually means byte c equals int x plus int y. And his explanation for that is that there's no addition operator for bytes. So they automatically get converted into integers to make the operation succeed. So that's kind of happening under the hood, and it's not clear, right? I wouldn't blame you for not realizing that some magic is going on there where these things are automatically being converted to integers even though we didn't tell it to do that. So no shame in not knowing that. But that's essentially what's going on here. So we know that there's some implicit conversion going on, and that bytes can't be on their own, just sort of added together like that. So with that information, we could go back to our challenge. And so what can we do? We know this a plus b now is an integer, right? And that jives with our error message, right? It said we can't convert type into byte. That was kind of confusing at first. Like, what did they mean by that? But we know now on this side, an integer plus an integer, you know, the right side is an integer, the left side of the equal sign is byte, and those types do not match. So definitely a problem. One thing we could do would be to say, okay, if we know the right side's an int, let's make c an int, right? And then I can't return c like this because it's looking for a byte. That's the contract of the method, right? It says, hey, you have to return a byte. So we can do something called a cast. We can convert the int back to a byte value. And one way you can do this is to put the type in parentheses preceding your variable name. So this will do the integer addition. It will cast it back into byte. This isn't perfect by any means. Remember I said we had things like overflow to worry about. If the number is so big, the sum is so big that it doesn't fit inside a byte. This doesn't really address any of that, but at least this should not be an error anymore. So we can test that again. Good. Looks good. We didn't print anything, so we just get that test passed. And yeah, we can run this on a larger collection of tests. You see our test just had one here. So I guess we'll go ahead and attempt it at large, see what we get. And it looks good there. They ran some random sum test sum. Cool. And just from that, we're ready to submit. So yeah, that was a little tricky one. Don't feel bad at all if this one just had you scratching your head and you had no idea what to do. And another point on Stack Overflow, it's not cheating. If you go search questions on Stack Overflow, if you type questions into Google and come up with answers that way, it may feel like cheating, you know, if you're used to an academic environment. When you're writing code, that is not, there's no cheating, right? So, I mean, some software is copyright. I'm not saying you to just take other people's software and that you can use it willy-nilly. I'm not saying that. But you can look up bits on Stack Overflow that's, you know, publicly available. Get ideas off that. Don't expect it to solve your specific coding needs. You know what I mean? If you're working on a very specific project, it's not going to be able to do your work for you. So the way you master it is you have to take whatever thing you're stuck on and sort of convert it into a generalized form that probably other people have run into problems with. And one common way to do that is, if you recall the error message that we had when we first tested, if you take that error number, if you remember it said error CS and then probably some 4-digit code, if you take those and even some of the descriptive text after that and paste it into Google, that's a great start. That's going to get you somewhere. And then you can add words to make it maybe more specific to the types that you're using. But, you know, there's a bit of an art to that, to finding the information you need on the internet. And so, along with the Microsoft document page that we've been using, definitely add Stack Overflow to your list. I can't tell you how many times I've used it, other professionals use it. It is going to become your good friend. And don't feel bad, there's no cheating in that. Make sure you understand the code that you use from it if you do pull some, and yeah, use it to make you better. So that's the thing. This is just kind of I don't imagine we're going to be dealing with bytes a lot, so that's kind of a one-off kind of little tricky thing that they may have gotten us with. But cool, we learned something, right? And so it made a good introduction to Stack Overflow as well, one of the best websites. Seriously, one of the wonders of the programming world. So I hope you found this helpful. I'll go ahead and submit, see what other people did for this challenge. Bytes, see. Okay, so see how they did their cast on the sum. That's fine too. They just did it in a different order than we did. Yeah, really not a lot going on in this one. But anyways, you know where to find me with questions. And otherwise, we'll just keep training, going on to the next challenge. Thank you.